And how will a second Trump presidency impact us here in Canada?
That could raise costs for Americans on everything coming across either border. We're talking about cars, electronics, oil, wood, food, avocados, maple syrup.
Welcome to Polytiks, the channel where politics meets storytelling. From breaking down the biggest political moves to exploring fascinating what-if scenarios, we're here to keep you informed and entertained. If you love unraveling political trends and geopolitical twists, you're in the right place. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss a thing. We've got tons of videos that take a closer look at the unique intersections of Canadian and US politics. And today, we're tackling one of the wildest hypotheticals. What if Canada joined the United States? It's a topic that's been whispered in history books, floated by politicians, and debated across dinner tables. So today, we're diving in. What would it take for this to happen? How likely is it? And what would it mean for Canadians, Americans, and the rest of the world? Let's get started. The idea of Canada becoming part of the United States has been around for over a century, but in recent years, it's gained new life. Some see it as a joke, others as an economic lifeline, and a few as the natural evolution of the deeply interconnected US and Canadian economies. Here's the scenario. Imagine Canada facing a crippling economic crisis. Trade with the US, its biggest partner, collapses, unemployment skyrockets, and political instability takes hold. In desperation, a referendum is called to decide whether Canada should become the 51st state of America. It sounds like the plot of a blockbuster movie, but how realistic is it? For Canada, this would mean abandoning its parliamentary democracy and universal healthcare system. For the US, it would mean integrating a country that's culturally distinct, politically unique, and geographically massive. So, let's break it down. First off, merging Canada into the United States would be a logistical nightmare. Canada's provinces would need to be restructured into US states, each with its own constitution and representation in Congress. This alone could take years. Then there's healthcare. Canada's beloved universal healthcare system would likely be dismantled and replaced by the US's privatized model. For Canadians, this would mean higher healthcare costs and more bureaucracy, a far cry from the system they're used to. The legal systems would also need to merge, forcing Canadian judges, lawyers, and officials to learn American laws. Imagine thousands of professionals navigating this massive overhaul. It would be chaotic, to say the least. And then there's the cultural aspect. While Americans and Canadians share many values, their differences in issues like gun control, healthcare, and even governance would create significant friction. But perhaps the most politically charged aspect of this hypothetical is the impact on American politics. Canada, as it stands, is significantly more liberal than the United States. In fact, Canadian right-wingers often find themselves to the left of American conservatives on issues such as healthcare, gun laws, and even climate change. For instance, a majority of Canadian conservatives support a publicly funded healthcare system, a stance that would be unthinkable for many Republicans in the US. If Canada were to become part of the US, it would essentially add a population roughly the size of California to the American political landscape. And here's the kicker. Most Canadians would likely align with the Democratic Party. This would be a seismic shift in the American electorate, tilting the balance of power significantly toward the Democrats. For Republicans, this could spell long-term challenges, as the addition of millions of left-leaning voters would make it much harder for the GOP to win national elections. The irony, of course, is that this idea is being floated by Donald Trump, a Republican president. Trump's advocacy for annexing Canada, as highlighted in his statements about manifest destiny and the need to expand American influence, seems to run counter to the long-term interests of his own party. While Trump frames the annexation as a bold geopolitical move, a way to solidify America's dominance in global markets and politics, the unintended consequence would likely be a significant boost to democratic power. Trump's rhetoric on the topic has been nothing short of provocative. From jokingly suggesting that Canada should become the 51st state to openly criticizing Canada's economic dependence on the U.S., he's made headlines time and again. Trump's threats of imposing massive tariffs on Canadian goods, paired with his playful but pointed comments about annexation, reveal a strategic, if controversial, vision. He's even gone so far as to use the idea of Canada joining the U.S. as leverage in trade negotiations, portraying it as a win-win for both countries. But what's perhaps even more revealing is the underlying motivation behind Trump and his supporters' interest in Canada. It's not about a newfound love for Canadians, it's about Canada's immense natural resources. Canada is a treasure trove of economic assets, including petroleum. Canada holds the third-largest oil reserves in the world, primarily located in Alberta's oil sands. Natural gas. Vast reserves in Western Canada make it a leader in natural gas production. Minerals and metals. Canada is a major global producer of nickel, copper, zinc, and potash, with mining operations spread across the nation. Forests. Approximately 38% of Canada's land area is covered by forests, supporting a thriving timber industry. Freshwater. Canada possesses 20% of the world's freshwater resources, with a vast network of lakes and rivers. Trump's interest in these resources has even extended to Canadian water. During a press conference, Trump remarked that water from British Columbia could serve as a faucet to help address California's drought issues. This perspective underscores a utilitarian view of Canada, where its primary appeal lies in its ability to meet America's resource demands rather than fostering a deeper partnership between the two nations. But let's not forget the geopolitical implications. Integrating Canada into the U.S. would likely cause ripples across the globe. Allies like Britain, who value Canada as a member of the Commonwealth, might see this as a blow to their influence. Meanwhile, rivals like Russia and China could interpret it as an aggressive expansion of American power. The Arctic, in particular, would become a hotbed of geopolitical tension, as American control over Canada's northern territories would put U.S. forces closer to Russian borders. For Americans, integrating Canada would be both an opportunity and a challenge. On the one hand, the U.S. would gain access to Canada's vast natural resources: oil, gas, timber, and minerals. This could triple America's energy production, making it a true global superpower in energy markets. On the other hand, the cost of integration would be astronomical. Trillions of dollars would need to be spent on infrastructure, governance, and health care. Taxes could rise, and the political landscape could shift dramatically as 10 new states and millions of voters join the Union. So, who actually wants this? Well, there are a few key players. For some political figures, this idea ties into the old concept of manifest destiny, the belief that the U.S. is destined to expand its borders. They see Canada as the next logical step in America's rise as a global superpower. Business leaders, on the other hand, might see dollar signs. Canada's resources, Arctic territories, and untapped markets make it an attractive prospect for innovators like Elon Musk. Imagine the Arctic becoming a hub for green energy or global trade. It's a vision that's hard to ignore. And for certain politicians, the idea of reshaping the political landscape with new states and new voters could be a tempting opportunity to secure long-term power. However, for Republicans, this would be a double-edged sword. While some might see the annexation as a way to solidify America's dominance, the political reality is that the influx of left-leaning Canadian voters could weaken Republican influence for decades to come. So, would this be a good idea? That depends on your perspective. For Canadians, joining the U.S. could mean economic stability, but at the cost of their independence and public services. For Americans, it could mean new resources and markets, but with massive integration costs and cultural clashes. And for the rest of the world, the geopolitical implications would be huge. Allies like Britain might see this as a loss, while rivals like Russia and China could view it as a threat. The Arctic, in particular, would become a new battleground for global influence. The truth is, this idea remains a fascinating what-if. While it's unlikely to happen anytime soon, it sparks important conversations about identity, governance, and the balance of power in a rapidly changing world. And that's a wrap. What do you think? Could this wild scenario ever become reality? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Polytiks. We've got tons more videos diving into fascinating political topics like this one. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to check out our channel for more deep dives into the weird and wonderful world of politics. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.